It's Friday then. It's Saturday, Sunday. It's Friday then. It's Friday. We're so excited. It's almost the weekend. College basketball is at an all-time high. Lauren Jabbar here with Jared Smith. Jared, how did it go yesterday for you? How you feeling after? I feel like you haven't gotten much sleep these last few days.
Explosive day.
Yeah. Third best day in college basketball of the year.
Crushed it. Jim Root came on the show, gave out 4 winners.
Amazing.
4 picks, 4 winners. Bang, that started the day. We hit a play of the day. Virginia Tech.
Let's go.
We actually won a pick.
Go. And actually, speaking of that, my dad, of course, I get my text messages from him every morning. He goes, "Congrats to Jared on play of day. I felt like he was on the right side, but I couldn't root against Notre Dame because he went to Notre Dame, obviously."
Fair.
So he goes, he agreed with you, but he couldn't root against his team.
That's fair. I understand, Mr. Jabbar, there's rooting interest involved with a lot of this, but
yes.
I only bleed one color, green, money. So a bunch of listen, it was one of those days where the picks that I was on were great. The picks that we were on as a show were great. Tremendous across the board. And I think that is probably going to be the hardest day of college basketball game. I can't bet 12 games again. I can't.
You can.
It hurts me. It was a painful ride of emotions throughout the day, but positive at the end. Here's where I'm at this morning. I did not stay up all night like I did last night, which means all of the lines that dropped overnight have already moved. A bunch of games that I was going to bet, the lines have already moved significantly in those directions because let's be honest, we've been on the right side of a lot of these. We just, the ones we've lost have been bad luck, right? They're not bad picks. So lighter card for me today in college hoops. Still got a lot of games to talk about and a lot of interesting situations, but my card will not be as thick as it was yesterday.
I feel like this is one of those things. So that's how I feel sometimes after I go out for a night and I drink and then you wake up the next morning, you're like, oh, I'm never drinking again. Well, guess what, Jared? St. Patrick's Day is coming up, which also means the first day of March Madness, which also means there's a ton of games on, which also means next week you might forget the feeling how you feel today after betting 12 games yesterday. And you might be betting 12 games next Thursday. You might be.
I'm not. Because there's only 16 games on next Thursday. And if I bet all of them, if I bet 12 out of 16, that would be aggressive. That would be an aggressive move. I would say this about today.
Aggressive.
There's a lot of really good spots on the board, and there's a lot of really good teams playing. And the chat's asking for Bonnie's. Actually, I need to pull up the chat right now for you guys. Because I really only have 2 bets locked in for college basketball today. I was going to play a few more, but it just didn't work out.
Yeah, let's go through them then. Let's go through them because I have quite a few. I have 3 bets today too for college basketball. Then we're also going to be talking some UEFA with Brad Thomas. We got NBA Morning Radar, and then our best bets of the day, our Pickswise 3-star play of the day. So let's get into it. College basketball. I'll let you go through your slate first.
All right. I will give you the play that I was going to make that I still might make depending on line movement. Richmond and VCU. This line opened like 1 or 2-ish overnight. It's now 3.5. I think 3 is probably where I stop. I almost got a 3 this morning on DraftKings, and then the rug slipped out from under me right before I was going to bet it. And now it's basically 3.5 painted across the board. I really like this VCU team. So Richmond played yesterday.
Yes.
VCU did not. Richmond fell behind yesterday by 15 to Rhode Island. They came back and won. It was a furious comeback, but let's be honest, they were down by 15 to Rhode Island. That's no bueno. And VCU is desperate in this spot. They're on the bubble right now. I think if the bubble was popped today, they'd be on the wrong side of it. And I think they're coming off of a loss where they probably could have secured their bubble spot last week against SLU on the road. We liked them in that spot. They lost. It was a tight game, but they came up on the wrong side of it. That means this week is going to be extra, extra important for VCU if they want to make the tournament. They probably need to make the final, but they definitely need to win today. If they win today, I think there's a debate. If they lose today, I think they're out. They're an elite defensive team. We've talked about them before. They run this havoc style. They will press you until your eyes are bleeding. And they'll press you some more. They're a top 5 defensive efficiency team. They're a top 5 team in defending, the field goal percentages. And they're a top 5 team in turnovers. And those are all things that VCU or that Richmond really struggles with. Vince Williams is the key to the offense. He's the guy that makes it go. 4-year starter, all A-10 team. They've got a freshman, Jaden Nunn, who was on the all-freshman team as well in the Atlantic 10 this year, which was a very, very good Atlantic 10. And I think VCU is the right side here. Do they cover 3.5? They're not a great offense, but I think they could just press Richmond to oblivion after a tough physical game yesterday.
Yeah.
And they have to come back and play VCU, which is no easy task. I'll probably end up getting on VCU at some point. We're doing the money line rollover with them. I'm already on money line with them.
Look at you.
That's more of an experiment.
Oh, talking about the rollover, we had that question yesterday, Jared, about what is a rollover? What does that mean? So can you just kind of like explain that to some of the people in the chat? Because I know we got that question yesterday. We forgot to answer it. That's all me.
Good question. Thank
That's
you,
all
chat.
me.
I appreciate the chat for asking that. So money line rollovers, I get asked this a lot. The futures market, we know we bet a lot.
Yeah.
And sometimes, depending on the price, depending on how things work out, it makes more sense numbers-wise to just bet the money line. So let's say I have $100 in my pocket.
Yeah.
And the futures price for VCU to win the Atlantic 10 is 5-1. So if I give you $100 and VCU wins the Atlantic 10, I get back 500. So now you have to do the math. All right, what if I bet them money line in game 1? Then I roll all of those winnings over. $100 to win, I don't know, they're like minus 200 today. $100 to win 50. So now you have $150. So then you roll 150 over to the next day's money line. Let's say it's minus 110. Now you have 150 to win 140-ish. Now you have 290. So now you roll over the 290 over the
math that you're doing just on the spot. It's very impressive, Jared.
So let's say that the 290 gets you more than 5-1. If you go 290 to win 250, yeah, you're gonna have $540 in your pocket. That's more than the 500 you're gonna win if you just bet the futures price. That's the theory behind the rollover. It's impossible to know how it works out because a lot of it is depending on the other teams in the bracket. If there's an upset, it skews the numbers. Like in the ACC, when Wake lost, it skewed the numbers for Duke's rollover price because now, you know, or if they would have actually, if they would have lost, if Miami would have lost to Boston College yesterday and Duke would have played Boston College today instead of Miami, it would have skewed that whole bracket.
Yeah.
So it can be fugazi sometimes. I don't really advise it because at the end, the last game, you're risking like 5, 6, 7, 8 units on one game. That's a lot. That's a lot on one game. I'd rather pocket some of that. So I like the futures market. I think it serves its purpose. And the rollover is an experiment that we're doing. And we'll see how the results go with some of these teams.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, the game I'm looking at tonight. And I'm just like, so can I just vent for 1 second?
Vent, please.
How the heck was Michigan up 17 points yesterday and lose that game to Indiana? How?
Because we talked about this yesterday. At this time of year, no lead is safe. No lead is safe.
Well, guess what? I'm fading Indiana today because I'm just so mad at them. I'm mad at them. I have Illinois laying 5 in this game. I know Hoosiers, they got the win that they needed to yesterday. And they were able to push at the end. They were able to squeak by with the win. And now that they're in the tournament, the ride stops here. They started slow yesterday. I see them doing that again today against Illinois. And you don't have the luxury to do that against a team like Illinois. I am a firm believer in momentum, but I just don't see that momentum from yesterday being able to carry into today and get it done. It's a letdown spot for me. I like Illinois in this spot laying 5. I also am really mad that they won yesterday.
Is this a bet with your head or a bet with your heart?
It's a bet with my head.
Okay.
It's a bet with my head. It really is. I honestly like they're gonna have a little bit of tired legs. I think that they started extremely slow yesterday. You don't have the luxury to do that against a team like Illinois. Illinois for me is one of the best teams in the Big Ten.
Agreed.
You start slow against them, and even though you say no lead is safe,
no lead is safe.
I still think that I like Illinois laying 5 in this spot because if Illinois had a 17-point lead, Jared, they're not losing that game. They're just not.
Agreed with that. I think Michigan at their core is just not a good team this year. Like
they just threw I mean, even just in that last minute where they just threw the ball out of bounds, and just give the ball away. They had a chance. They were down 1. You have a chance to come back and take the lead and then hold that lead to the end of the game. And you're just making dumb decisions.
They had the best player on the floor yesterday too with Dickinson, and he didn't really do a whole lot. I think I think Illinois is primed to win this tournament. I said that last week when we did the tournament.
Yeah.
Which I thought Illinois was the road was really strong for them. How about what Iowa did yesterday to Northwestern?
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. I apologize. I know there's a lot of media, journalists, Northwestern people, Chicago. That was a shellac.
That was a drubbing. That was
The
a
Big
full
Ten
on.
is very difficult to handicap this year. I think there's really no dominant team in the Big Ten. I think Michigan State can win this tournament if they can figure out how to,
Yeah, I'm kind of liking them. I haven't bet this yet, but I'm kind of liking them laying the points today.
I think that is a very telling line. They're underdogs. They're 3-point underdogs, but I think if that line gets to 4 or 5, I think I'll take Sparty.
Really?
And how about my Nittany Lions upsetting Ohio State yesterday?
Let's go. Let's go.
Not betting them today, that's for sure. Although getting 10, I mean, it's a lot of points in a Big Ten quarterfinal. Maybe I should bet Penn State.
I feel like that could be a heart bet for you. Yeah, Justin, our producer, says money line. Money line or go home.
Well, here's why Penn State fans shouldn't bet the money line. If they win, you're gonna be so happy anyways. You don't need to win money from that. At least for me.
Yeah, that's
true. Money does matter though a lot.
Yeah, so. I know. I thought you only bleed one color, and that's green, Jared.
All right, you know what, Lauren?
Yeah.
You caught me. I do bleed blue and white sometimes.
Just occasionally. It depends on the day. Two other games that I'm on is Providence laying 3, but that's my best bet of the day. So I'm going to wait until the end of the show to give that one.
All right, I'll give out a couple more picks, and I'll also do a dissertation about my spreadsheet because I'm getting a lot of questions about it. So I'll give out Tulane. I really like Tulane. Okay. I'm a little worried that so they've got this. Actually, I'm going to check the wire right now and see if anything's changed with this kid. Tulane's got this freshman Jalen Cook who hasn't played the last couple games with an injury. But I read a report this morning that said he's trending. Here you go, trending in the right direction. And that's positive. But we don't know if he's going to play. If he does play, this line will flip. Right now, Tulane's a dog. It's kind of a pick 'em actually. But I think if this kid plays, and I think he might, I think Tulane probably closes as a favorite. They're playing Temple. They just lost to Temple last week, 2 weeks ago, in a game where I think Cook got hurt in. Yeah, he only played 20 minutes. This was the game that he got hurt in. So if Cook plays, I think this is a really good revenge spot for a really young and energetic Tulane team that's been really spunky this year. Ron Hunter, who, of course, you remember him from the tournament from Georgia State a few years ago. So I think I'm on Tulane today. If Cook doesn't play, I'll be very upset. I'll probably try to buy out of Temple, but I think he will play, and I think that line's going to flip. The other point I want to make about, picks, spreadsheets, all this crap. Listen, I can't tweet out every pick. I have a life. I put the picks on the sheet. You want to go look at my spreadsheet? There's a link in my Twitter profile. Have a blast. But I'm not going to drop my card every night. I bet it. I put it on the sheet. If we do the show, I'll talk about it on the show. There's a million games. Have a blast, guys. But I'm not gospel. I'm not gambling God. Just go to the sheet, look at it.
You're a gambling God to me, Jared. Okay. One other game that I want to talk about before we bring in Brad Thomas, talk a little football. Arkansas versus Missouri. I like Woo Pig Suey. Laying 3. I think the line's now moved to 3.5. I would still bet it at that. I believe they just played last week and Arkansas squeaked by. I think today they're going to win solidly. You look at LSU and what they did. They put together a solid start against Missouri, but then they eased off the gas a little bit. I think they're going to have to watch out for that in the future so they're not upset in the tournament. Arkansas right now, they're playing solid basketball before losing to Tennessee in the regular season finale. Still, we saw a spirited rally from this Arkansas team. They closed the gap against the Vols, and they have the grit and tenacity to make life miserable for teams on both ends of the floor. Yeah. I can see them coming out, playing strong, giving it 150%, coming up with a victory here and advancing to the semifinals.
150%.
What? 150%. Yeah. 163% if we really want to get
Alex Glaze might hate me for this, but I kind of like LSU today.
No.
Alex, if you're watching, I'm sorry. I kind of like this LSU team a little bit. They've grown on me lately. They
No,
really have. They
no.
had a really nice win over Bama in overtime. That Arkansas game was nuts. They had a big lead late. They blew it. I agree that they're very tough to
They're
back
gritty.
as a
They're
favorite.
tenacious. They're gritty.
But LSU's getting 3.5 here. And I think that line is wrong because I think
Yeah.
well, hold on. Let me look at so there's a really good handicapper that gives out that basically sends out his lines every night on where he thinks the games are. His name's Greg Peterson. He does an unbelievable job. If you don't follow him, I recommend that you do. He has it as LSU -1. And like I trust his lines. He's very on top of this.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that we're getting 3.5, I'll be honest, that line has moved too much.
It's moved a lot. I bet it at 3. What is it now? 3.5. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I will take LSU there. I think
Okay. We'll see how it goes. And then we have a couple more college basketball predictions in our best bets of the day. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But right now, let's take it across the pond. Well, technically across the pond, but Brad Thomas is here in the US of A. Betting analyst for NBC Sports. Let's bring him in to chat a little football. He's been waiting in the wings. Brad, How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on. Okay, so first of all, we're taking it across the pond. Main things that you're looking for when you're betting soccer matches. How do you kind of narrow this down?
You know, there's so much data, form, and all this that comes in soccer. But when betting anything, you got to look at value. A big thing in soccer are overlays. So basically, the line is spitting out a different price than the implied probability. So that's the first thing that I look at. So then I'll start looking at form, quality of the teams. If you're betting like, I don't know, Portuguese league, maybe Swiss Super League, you know, the quality's not as good. So sometimes totals are harder to get against more sound defensive teams, regardless of how good or how often they're hitting the total. I like looking at expected goal mark compared to what they're actually doing. So if a team has an expected goal mark of, let's say, 2 goals per game, they're only scoring maybe 1 goal per game, you know goals are probably due. So you just got to find a leaky defense. Regardless if the stats are saying one thing, you know they're due, and you have opportunity to kind of smash that line there.
Love it. I think when we talk soccer, it can be tough. You know, we've talked about this before, Brad. There's a lot of – it's just not a lot of people like to watch it, and that's why it can be tough to bet on. How do we make it fun? Like, what are some of the ways? Like, because like you have a lot of different bets, like corners, like there's ways to, because a lot of times it's, oh, if this team scores, we win. Well, then we watch a match and it's 0-0, and we're like, wait, what did we just watch? Like, what are ways that bettors can kind of spice things up in the soccer world to make things a little more entertaining?
So I love betting and I love gambling. And I think the more action you have on a game, the more fun it is. It's cool if you bet a side, you know, like that's the most bet thing in soccer, sides and totals. But start finding, like you said, corner props, start finding card props. And then once you start watching the game more often, you'll start to get like a flow of how the game's going. And you're like, okay, this team's definitely going to get 3 more corners, so I'm going to live bet that they get 3 more corners. Or you see a ref who just keeps yelling at the players for diving. You know more cards are coming out, so you're watching it. You're like, come on, ref, book them, and you just live bet. Like, I think that makes every sport fun, but especially soccer, since there's a lot of games, especially in like EPL or La Liga, there's only 1 or 2 goals scored on average per game. Well, if you find more markets inside of that match, you'll have more fun watching it.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my next question is, do you approach different leagues or each league differently? Like, do some factors matter more in La Liga than they do in the EPL?
Oh, yeah. I think that you have like certain bets circled for specific leagues. So we'll say like Bundesliga, I'm circling goals. Like if I take an under in Bundesliga, it's because the totals balloon so high, like where you just have another overlay where it's hard for a game to hit 5 goals. So if the total's set at like 4.5, I'm probably going to smash the under. But like La Liga, it's a lower scoring game or lower scoring league. Or I'm back to bookings again. Like you think about teams in the league, a lot of these Spanish teams play really tough, and their tactics want you to kind of lean on them a little bit more. So bookings are a lot higher. Or if you go into like lower divisions, tread lightly, but like corner props, because it's a lot of sloppy, high-paced soccer. And so those are kind of the ways I look at different leagues. And then once you find the avenues for each league that that you like, then you find the teams who are really good at that. Like you find the really good under teams in La Liga, the really good goal scoring teams in Bundesliga. And then you'll really start to bet similar bets each week, each game, but they'll be profitable.
Yeah, I think when we look at what happens every week in the EPL, that is my favorite league to cap.
Yes.
And I think that's the league that I would recommend everyone starting with, because I think the players are the most prominent. The games are on TV for the most part. And you can at least, immerse yourself a little bit in it more because you understand it a little bit more. Most people have heard of Manchester United. Most people have heard of Cristiano Ronaldo. That's a good starting point, good starting league. But then we start branching out, Brad, into the Norwegian leagues and the Swedish leagues and the leagues that know. But ironically enough, that's where a lot of the value is. So when you I'm looking at tomorrow's card on Saturday, and there's like 50 leagues playing.
Yeah.
Focus on one or two. What are your kind of leagues that your go-to when you're looking at this crazy international card every week?
So number one is EPL. Like you said, in gambling, we have a saying: if you can't name 3 players on a team, don't bet them. And EPL, you have the most information available, most free information at that too. Mm-hmm. So I'll go through every single EPL game regardless. And then I'll move over to Bundesliga because Bundesliga has a trend. And then small leagues that I watch a lot, I'll handicap a lot. So like Portugal, Switzerland, I watch those leagues a lot. And I'm going to be honest, I don't dive too deep into leagues I don't watch or don't care for because tactics are very important. Like numbers can tell you a lot of things, but they're not going to tell you tactics. And if you don't know tactics because you're not watching these leagues, you're just basically guessing. And that's not good value. It's not good way to be betting.
Yeah. You talked about the EPL and how you bet that the most. So like Manchester City, Liverpool are solidly ahead of Chelsea, who's in 3rd place right now. Is this really, as much of a 2-team race as it's been this season? Or do you think some other teams will kind of close the gap at this point?
No, it's a 2-team race. And if I'm being honest, I think it's a 1-team race. I'm kind of hoping that it gets a little bit closer, but the gap was almost 15 points a week and a half ago. Now we're down to about 6. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping that City falls again and Liverpool kind of makes it closer because I want to bet on City again. Yeah. And you just think about it, like with so much soccer going on, and I just think that City has so much more depth than Liverpool. Liverpool is a great team, but they're not as deep as City. So with all this domestic leagues, with all these cup matches, with European play, I want City to drop a game they don't care about, and then let Liverpool get close. And then I honestly would even take and I hate betting heavy juice, but I honestly would take minus 180 for them to win the league if it ever drops to that, just because of the depth. They can handle their rigorous schedule.
All right, let's get into the weekend.
Yes.
If you're interested in being a complete degenerate and gambling from 7 a.m. tomorrow until midnight, you start at 7 a.m.
Sounds like the perfect Saturday to me, Jared. I don't know about you.
Sounds like what I'm going to be doing tomorrow. Brighton, Liverpool, bright and early tomorrow at 7:30 in the morning, and you've got yourself one of those patented booking props for this match.
Yes.
Eastern time, by the way. I know there's some West Coasters that'll be 4:30 for you.
If you really want to be a degenerate.
Really want to get up early.
Oh,
yeah, I'm looking at under bookings in this, and it's under 3.5 bookings. So Liverpool are one of those teams where there's 2 bets that I automatically look at. The markets I first go to. Number 1, corners. Number 2, bookings. They are a fast-paced, pressing team. Well, they're disciplined, and they actually don't possess the ball that much in the midfield and then bring it to the breakers, which are a lot of those grab fouls happen. So their teams that they're playing against are only averaging 1.6, 1.7 bookings per match, and then they don't get booked. They're the 2nd least booked team in the EPL. So I'd be shocked if they get more than 1 booking. And the best thing about their forwards, and you see this a lot when you see a United, their forwards don't complain a lot to the referees. So we don't get those stupid bookings like a Ronaldo gets. So I'm banking that Liverpool doesn't get more than one. And then Brighton on the other side of the ball, they play very, very disciplined. They may not be the best team in the EPL, but they don't get booked a lot. They get booked 2 or less bookings per match, and their full game match is 2.3. So both are sitting under that total. I wouldn't be shocked if this gets to about 3 bookings in like the 75th minute, and then we're sweating that last one. Hopefully it doesn't hit. But I think this is a fair price because I probably would have priced this a little bit higher, kind of closer to that minus 150 mark.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Like when you're nearly, well, I want you to talk about your corner props for a second, just
Yes.
because that's like your most lucrative thing this season. How do you kind of like see the game flow and know which corner prop?
Yeah. So the first thing I do when I look at corner markets, I look at how teams play. I want aggressive teams who play on the boundaries, who have skilled position players, who are going to want to drive the ball upfield and as close to the boundary as possible. If you have a high press team, you're going to get a lot of cheap ones, but they have to play out wide. Because if you think about Byron, they're not as high press under new management as they were before, but they play so central that they are not a good corner team to back. But if you think about like Liverpool or a City, you have guys, especially the false nine, that's amazing, but they carry it close to the boundary. And then you want to attack teams who aren't good defensively, but don't let in a lot of goals. So you would think about a Norwich at home, right? They're not good defensively, but they play tight at home. They would rather kick the ball or head the ball out of bounds than let you take it in or have an attempt on goal, especially when they're at home. And then if you want to look from a statistics standpoint, there's so much data out there that you can find. You want to look for like opportunities gained. Opportunities gained are balls that go out of bounds on the sideline, out of bounds behind the net, or fouls and free kicks. More free kicks you get, the more opportunities you get that you get a glancing blow that goes out of bounds and gives you a corner. In game, what I like for live betting, so when you live bet corners in game, please pay attention to the market before the match, because a lot of times what they'll do is you'll get a way better price in game, and a team is just firing off a bunch of shots, or they're just dominating possession and they're dominating in the final third. That gives you the opportunity to go ahead and bet it live. Bet the over live.
On your card today, Brad, I really like this pick Sunday, the Newcastle Chelsea, or the Chelsea Newcastle, both teams to score. I watched the Newcastle match yesterday, and I didn't think they had a chance in hell to go to Southampton and win, but they did. Plus money on it, both teams to score. I love that. Chelsea's going to score. So It's really just plus money on Newcastle scoring against Chelsea. And Chelsea's got a lot of other stuff going on right now. You got Champions League brewing. So I like the midweek, or in this case, the weekend matches when it's sandwiched around other things. Mm-hmm. And I think that of your 4 picks on your card, I think that's the one I like the most.
Yeah, no, listen, both teams to score should not be priced at plus 110. No. Newcastle have scored in every match since the January transfer window. Yeah. They've gotten Chris Wood. They've gotten other great players. Bruno's on the team. And they went from a bottom-dwelling team to a team who actually believes in themselves. Yeah. And if you think about implied odds with this like 60-something %, I think this is a lot closer to 50-50 than the odds imply. And Chelsea aren't as leaky as they have been in the 2 or 3 weeks ago, but they're banged up. They're playing a lot of soccer. They literally just played like 3 matches in the past 2 weeks. Those are angles you have to attack. And we're getting this price because Chelsea's at home. But I mean, it's plus 110. I think that this hits fairly easy. I don't think we sweat this.
We have a question in the chat. If you like anything Atletico Madrid today,
you like La Liga. That's you do. I do dabble in La Liga sometimes.
Yeah, man, this is tough. I have 2 options for this match, and these are just leans. I might play the cards. I'm gonna probably go over bookings on this match. Simone is a master tactician. Like he is the epitome of the Spanish grinder. He wants his players to be leaning on you. He wants his players to get in your head. So bookings will be high in this match. And the other one, it's probably the most square bet that you can make, and that'd be Atletico to win to 0.
Yeah, I do like that. So to me, when I look at soccer and I'm trying to pick out 1 or 2 plays on a massive card,
yeah,
Brad, I've been leaning more towards, all right, here's how I'm going to cap it. I'm going to try to pick a final score, and I'm going to try to work my way backwards from that and try to find something plus money related with every final score that I do.
Yeah.
I think the in-game parlays have changed the way that people handicap sports in general because A, they're advertised so much, and B, there are books that do give you pretty decent odds on some of them. Bet365 is one for me here in Jersey that I absolutely adore. I use them all the time for soccer. But when you're looking at a giant card and you've got one or two matches that you're like, okay, I can narrow this down. Like, is that your approach, or do you just pick whatever, best value on the board that you can find, or do you always try to go for a bigger score a little bit?
Yeah, so I'm a value hunter, but this is how I do it. And you made a very good point. So when I look at a match, so let's take West Ham versus Villa. I look at the match and I say, what do I think's going to happen? That's my initial reaction. And then the next thing I'll look at is, what are the stats telling me? Because sometimes the stats don't align. And if I think that Aston Villa and West Ham, both teams to score, is like minus 180, West Ham's averaging almost 2 goals per match at home. Why don't I just take a little bit more value and bank on another goal there? And that's a terrible example. It's just the first one that came to my head. But sometimes you have to figure out what the numbers are telling you outside of what your brain is telling you and go after the value. Soccer is probably one of the hardest sports to be profitable in, to win in. So stop chasing those minus 150 lines. Stop chasing those minus 160 lines and go bet you a plus 175. Like, if you think that it has an outside chance of hitting at plus 215, I guarantee you that overlay in soccer is going to be way more profitable long-term than that minus 160.
Yeah. Last one I want to ask you before we let you go, Players Championship picks. You have this one at 35 to 1. Tell us about it.
I think that this is going to probably be the most popular bet on gambling Twitter for all golf handicappers. So the weather's terrible. The course is wet. They're literally squeegeeing the greens before players are putting. So I assumed this was going to happen. And what I wanted to do was find a guy who is just killing it off the tee, killing it on approach, and they're a really good ball striker. Because I want a guy who's attacking pins. Typically you can't attack pins here. That's what I want. And I'm going with Sam Burns to win. I don't know the leaderboard now. He was 2 back. He probably will be 2 back because the weather's so bad for the guys who are playing now. I don't think many guys are going to chase Fleetwood or Hoagie. Plus 3,500 for a guy who's number 2 off the tee, number 7 on approach, and the number 1 ball striker. But what also makes me more excited about his playing position is he has lost half a stroke putting.
Oh my gosh.
You can always turn putting around.
Yeah.
If you have everything else, I think that if he can even just get back to even, where he doesn't lose any strokes on the putting surface, he can really chase for the title, and these are great prices.
How do you squeegee a green? That's what I want to know.
We can go check it out if you want.
It's so obnoxious.
Rounds crew or something.
Like, we should. Like, it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. That weather is absolutely nuts. Brad, we so appreciate you coming on, giving us a wealth of knowledge, and betting analyst for NBC Sports, Brad Thomas. You're a rock star. We so appreciate the time.
Thank you, guys. Have a great one.
You too. You love to see it. Squeegeeing the green. That's a thing, Jared. That's a thing.
I didn't even know that it was that bad. I mean, I knew the weather at Ponte Vedra, Jacksonville was going to be rough this week.
Yeah.
But so
Florida.
yesterday,
It's Florida. That weather in Florida is crazy.
I know, but
you know well.
I do, but it's like, so I was watching a little bit of it yesterday before it got suspended, and then darkness. I'm looking at the leaderboard now. Tommy Fleetwood, Tom Hoagie. I remember your little bit with Tom Hoagie. I know that that's a sore subject. Kramer, Hickok, Joaquin Neiman, Keith Mitchell. Mitchell's been a guy that I've been looking at a lot. He's been a popular pick on gambling Twitter recently. And how about my lefty, Brian Harmon?
Let's go.
Two back of the lead. Two back of the lead. And also, shout out Teddy Greenstein. His long shot, Taylor Pendrith, is also in the top 10 right now.
But you also
very early, but exciting stuff at the Players. Don't hate the Players.
Hate the game. But all right. Speaking of players, The Boston Celtics are playing lights out recently. Let's get into a little bit of NBA. 10 games on the slate
Yeah.
tonight. Jason Tatum has been on fire. The Celtics right now sitting 1.5 games back from Philly for the 3 seed. Okay. Philly lost last night to the Brooklyn Nets at home. That was the game that everyone was talking about. James Harden didn't show up. He only had 11 points last night. But Jason Tatum right now, currently in 10th in the MVP odds on DraftKings. Do you think there's any chance that he can take home his first MVP of his career? I think that they'll have to have he'll have to get the Celtics up to that 1 spot heading into
No chance.
Yeah. I mean, there's
I
just
wouldn't
so
bet on
many other
Jason
guys that are up there already.
Yeah, and also you saw what Kevin Durant did last night. You saw
It's
what
just gross. It's gross.
It really is. Like, how can you not give him the MVP if the Nets win the 1 seed? But I don't really think the 1 seed matters as much in the MVP race, unless you're right, unless it's a Tatum and Boston. Boston's not. I don't think Boston's getting up to the 1 seed.
There's no chance.
I just think there's too many good teams in front of them. They have to jump Milwaukee, Miami, and Philly over the last.
Chicago at this point. Them and Chicago are basically 4.
Yeah, them and Chicago are basically neck and neck. But there's 15 games left, and they've got to jump 3 of the most elite teams on the planet right now. The Bucks are red hot. They've won 6 in a row.
Yeah.
Heat have won 7 of 10. Sixers have won 7 of 10. I know the Nets last night really came out and put the hammer down. But to me, the NBA Finals, I don't care where the Nets are seated. Like, they've got the 2 best players on the floor most nights in Kyrie and KD.
I know a lot of those teams that are like up there in the 1, 2, 3 spots are looking at the Nets, and the Nets, if they're in the play-in game, and then they're going to be playing one of these teams. Like, I was talking to, because we were just in Milwaukee recently, I was with the Hawks in Milwaukee, and I was talking to a couple of their, just staff there, and they're like, yeah, if we have to play the Nets in the first round of postseason, like, that's a tough draw. If the Nets are down there, they're getting in a play-in game, and then they're playing against like the Heat or the Bucks. Like, I'm sorry, that's a horrible draw for the first round.
They are going to be down there.
I know. Well, there is a chance that they could work their way up a little bit, but
I think when you look at what the standings are in the Eastern Conference, and I'm looking at them right now, I mean, I'll be honest, if I'm the Nets, I kind of want to stay in that play-in game.
Yeah.
You beat the crap out of the Raptors in 1 game, and then you take that momentum and you ride it, because you're not going to get up to the 4.
You don't want to get to the top 6, though, so you don't have to play.
Yeah, obviously you do want to get up to the top 6, but here's the question you have to ask yourself. There's 15 games left in the season. They're 5 games back of the 6th spot.
Yeah.
You have to go 10-5. The Cavs have to go 5-10. That's tough. The odds of that happening are low. So you have to ask yourself 2 questions. Do you load up the tank right now, last 15 games, push all in to go top 6? Or do you do what you've been doing all year long, which is coast, cruise, give guys rest, give KD the breaks that he needs, and know that, all right, you've got to win 2 out of 3, or you have to win 1 out of 2. I think it's 1 out of – I don't know what the exact, number – if they're in the 7, the 8, and they lose, they have to win 1 more game, I think, to get in. Mm-hmm. So you have to win 1 out of 2 games, basically, in the play-in game. Or do you push hard now to try to go 13-3, 13-2 down the stretch to try to get into the 6, and then all of a sudden you get to that 3-6 matchup and you're out of gas come the playoffs. So it's like, where do you want to allocate your energy over the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks for the end of the season? I think the Nets are fine playing in the 7-8 game, and I think they'll beat the crap out of Toronto in that game, and then they'll probably get a favorable matchup. You want to stay away from Milwaukee. I think Miami would be the more favorable matchup for the Heat. I mean, for the Nets. I think Milwaukee's the best team in the Eastern Conference right now. I really do.
No, totally. I mean, and just watching them play, I mean, they just have so many threats. Like, it's insane, and both of their units are exceptionally strong. There's 10 games on the slate tonight, Jared. Have we seen any line movement at all heading into tonight?
Yeah, let's take a look. I'm looking at the board right now. I'll be honest, I'm not seeing a ton of line movement. Little action on the Pistons from 14 to 13, but that's not significant. The total in Minnesota, Orlando's dipped a little bit from 235 now down to 233. The Hornets have taken a little money. From 2 now to 3, 3.5. They're in New Orleans tonight against the Pelicans. And that's kind of it. It's kind of it's not really a great night for NBA movement. I haven't seen like a huge moving game here, but Knicks Grizzlies, stay away from the Knicks. Goodness gracious, can't stand watching them right now. And then the Cavs and the Heat. That's actually a really good game. That's actually a really good game.
That Cavs Heat is the game that I have circled, and also the Raptors Suns. I'm looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, the Suns have been playing well even without Chris Paul. Their only loss, I think, in the last 2 weeks is to Milwaukee, and that's arguably the best team in the league
right now.
Yeah. So little money came in on Toronto from 6-5. And then in the Miami Cleveland game, it looks like no movement at all. 210 painted and 6.5 kind of painted across the board there. So good luck trying to find any movement in the market. It's not a huge moving night in the market. Too many people are betting college hoops.
A lot of college hoop betting. Speaking of, I know my best bet of the day is a college hoop bet, but let's go to Pickswise.com before we get into it and talk about Pickswise.com 3-star play of the day. Who do we got?
Well, I saw someone in the chat mention the T-Wolves, and our friend Philip Tomich. I need like a pronunciation guide for all of our cappers because a lot of them are from, they're from overseas, they're from London, they're from England. They got to get the pronunciation guide. I hope I pronounce your name right, Philip. He's on side in the T-Wolves Magic game. I'll leave it there. We also have a soccer pick today. Ooh. Actually, no, I take that back. It's tomorrow. So we can talk about that one tomorrow. So Philip Tomich, Magic, T-Wolves, check it out. 3-star,
Pickswise.com. Check it out. All right. Speaking of college basketball, both of our play of the days are a CBBALL college basketball. College basketball picture, and I'll let you go first. I just need to regain my mental capacity for a second.
So, no, I didn't snort. That was all Lauren. I don't snort. Lauren's the only one that snorts on this show, Justin. All right. Have you ever seen the movie Major League?
No, I don't think I have actually.
No. All right. So there's a great scene in Major League where the manager, the premise, thank you, Justin. Great movie. The premise of Major League is it's like the Cleveland Indians are terrible. Actually, am I allowed to even call them that anymore? The Cleveland baseball team. It is really bad. And they have this manager and they win a game. And the manager goes back into the clubhouse after the game and he's like, "We won yesterday. If we win today, that's called a winning streak. It has happened before." It's one of my favorite lines in that movie. Well, we won a play of the day yesterday, and that means today we're going for a winning streak.
A winning streak. One time lose streak, baby. Let's go.
So we did it yesterday. We bet Virginia Tech. They look great. They should have really blew out your Irish. It was a much closer game, I think, because Notre Dame hit a bunch of threes in the second half. But they won convincingly, 3-possession win. Now they get the Tar Heels today in another huge game for Virginia Tech, who is still
huge game.
Huge. Virginia Tech's still squarely on the bubble, which means if they lose this game, their bubble might go pop. And we don't want to see that for the Hokies. Virginia Tech, I think, is starting to figure out why they were looked at preseason as a team that I thought could really contend. They were the 7th seed in the ACC, which is lower than what you would expect, but they were favored yesterday against the 2 seed Notre Dame. And now today they're facing the 3 seed North Carolina, and they're only getting 2 points. And I think that's pretty telling again. UNC did win both games between these two teams earlier this season. Tech did not shoot well in either of those games, especially the one at home where they went 5 of 26 from 3. They're shooting it much better now. How about my guy Storm Murphy with a couple of big threes yesterday to close that game out?
Storm.
And I know UNC is hot. They've won 6 in a row, but yesterday they really coasted against Virginia, who's not good offensively. Virginia Tech's going to push the tempo today. Much different game today than what Carolina played yesterday. Tech is hot, riding momentum. They've now won 2 straight in the tourney, the ACC tourney. And I think we're going to keep riding them until they lose. So we're hopping on the bandwagon again today. Virginia Tech, I got 2. You could probably grab a 2.5 out there if you shop. And it's a hokey high day.
You know what, Jared? If it ain't broke, don't fix it, is what they said. 1 game's a win, 2 games is a streak. He's going for a streak, my friends. Speaking of streaks, I was looking yesterday at Providence laying 7.5. I didn't officially bet it, but I was looking at it. Well, guess what? They won the game. Didn't cover the spread. I'm really glad I didn't bet it. Today, though, I really like Providence only laying 3 against Creighton. Another close game. I think the Friars are going to keep it rolling. I know the public right now is on the Blue Jays covering the spread. I'm fading the public, people. Earlier in the season, the Friars beat Creighton 72-51. They dominated in the paint in that game. Creighton's not going to be able to hang on the offensive side of the floor. The Friars have the 45th most efficient offense in the entire country, and I just see them dominating the paint. Again, they're going to force the Blue Jays to shoot from the perimeter, which could be a struggle for them because they're only knocking down 31% of their shots from deep on the entire season. Providence is going to smother Creighton on the defensive side, score officially on the offensive side. Providence laying 3, baby. One of the luckiest teams in NCAA college basketball. But you know what? I like it. This is not going to be luck tonight. It's going to be talent mixed with luck. Make it a streak of 1 for me. Let's go.
I love it. You need a win bad. I'm pulling for you so
I'm
hard.
down bad, Jared. I'm down bad.
But here's the thing. You're down bad, but you're up.
I'm still up like 20 units.
I know. And I think this is a lesson because you've said it. We've talked about this off air a bunch. You're like, I'm waiting for the streak. I'm waiting for the streak. Of course, it's going to happen. Everyone goes into cold streaks. The question you have to ask yourself, and not just you, every single human being that gambles goes through cold streaks. When you go through one, do you adjust what you're doing or do you just blindly try to push through the wall? I respect the fact that you bet a lot of hockey. The picks have gone cold.
Not today, my friend. I'm taking a break.
That's what I'm saying. But like it's about making adjustments. Life is about growth. You're not going to be able to do the same thing every single day and get the same results. That's the definition.
That's the definition of insanity. Look at us. Let's go.
So you had a little cold streak. Now we're going to make some adjustments, and you're going to do some college hoops the next week or so, and we're going to see where things go. Trust me, the hockey picks will still be there. Also, I'm doing the money line rollover with Providence again. It won yesterday. The money line rollovers so far have been pretty spicy. Toledo yesterday, goodness gracious, almost lost, but they didn't. And they didn't cover, but they won. Duke didn't cover, but they won. Providence didn't cover, but they won. Sometimes the money line rollovers are fun. So we're going to do it again today with Providence for sure. I have Providence, Duke, Toledo, and VCU as my 4 money line rollovers today. And I'll tweet out another sheet tonight after all the games are over.
Moneyline rollover madness. That's what they like to call it. That's it for us today. Find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to pickswise.com. Follow us on Twitter. Jared Smith. I'm Lauren Jabara. Best of luck tonight. You guys will see you tomorrow. Happy Fun Day Friday. Friday Fun Day.
Sure.
We'll go with it. Let's get it. Let's bet it.